Mr. President.
Senator from New Jersey.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent to temporarily set aside the pending amendment and call up my amendment.
The Senate is in a quorum call.
I ask unanimous consent to set aside the calling of the quorum.
Without objection.
Further, I ask unanimous consent to temporarily set aside the pending amendment and call up my amendment number 836.
Without objection. Clerk will report.
The senator from New Jersey, Mr. Lautenberg, for himself and others, proposes an amendment numbered 836.
I ask unanimous consent
Amendment 738.
dispense with the further reading of the amendment.
Without objection.
Sorry for jumping in so quickly. This amendment would increase funding for disaster relief grants at the Economic Development Administration. Now, we all know that this has been a record year for natural disasters. Our country has already experienced a record 10 natural disasters that cost more than $1 billion each time. Hurricane Irene alone caused more than $7 billion in damages along the East Coast. In my home state of New Jersey, 11 people lost their lives as a result of the hurricane. And while President Obama came to my hometown of Paterson, New Jersey, to see the damage firsthand, I must point out that we are still almost across the country in the wake of huge storms that demand attention and will require substantial funding. Now, in my hometown of Paterson, New Jersey, we witnessed unforgettable images. The streets and sidewalks were covered in mud, and in some homes, the second floor was also covered with mud. But New Jersey's not alone. As I said, there have been extremely severe storms across the country, and flooding and tornadoes devastated the Midwest and the South. As a result, FEMA has declared federal disasters in all but 2 states this year. In the wake of these disasters, we've seen the American people pulling together, neighbor helping neighbor, to put their lives back together. Furniture out on the lawn, memorabilia out so water-soaked that it's valueless in terms of recalling memory. It's painful to witness, and when you see families standing together, holding hands, wondering what is going to happen to them, we look to our country, they say, to help us recover from this disaster. Perhaps we'll never quite get over it, but we can use the help desperately. The federal government has to do its part, and I'm pleased that the Commerce, Justice, Science bill that we're considering includes emergency funding for disaster relief grants at the Economic Development Administration. And I thank Senator Mikulski for her good work as chairman on this bill. But the needs all across the country are overwhelming, and more disaster assistance is needed. Now, this amendment increases the funding for EDA, disaster relief grants, by $365 million to a total of $500 million of availability. And I pointed out that many of these disasters themselves have $1 billion worth of damage. The my amendment is co-sponsored by Senator Sanders, Menendez, Gillibrand, Blumenthal, and Leahy, and I thank them for their support. Any area that received a federal disaster declaration this year would be eligible to compete for this disaster relief, including areas in 48 states so far this year. And I want to be clear, natural disasters devastate local economies, causing damages that can linger for years. FEMA reimburses local government homeowners for repairs in the immediate aftermath of a storm. But EDA grants are needed to help communities get back on track for recovery and economic revitalization in the wake of a major disaster. Communities use these disaster relief funds to repair damaged public infrastructure such as sewer and drinking water systems. And states use the EDA grants to create and coordinate efficient disaster response and recovery plans. Additionally, local governments and nonprofits can lend EDA disaster relief funds to businesses to help our private sector to rebuild and to grow. Congress has recognized the value of this program in the past. During the past 5 years, we've provided more than $550 million in EDA emergency disaster relief funds. And this includes $500 million in emergency supplemental funding for EDA in 2008 to respond to the hurricanes that devastated the South and the heavy rains that caused massive flooding throughout the Midwest. Mr. President, when these areas were in need, Congress came together and extended a helping hand. And unfortunately, we've got to do so again now. The funding in my amendment complies with the disaster relief provisions included in the Budget Control Act and is not offset with cuts from other programs in the bill. When disaster strikes, victims don't want us to reach for the budget acts. They want us to help them rebuild and recover. We all recognize that our country faces serious fiscal challenges, but we cannot put a price on human lives. Nothing is more important than protecting our communities, our families, and our economy. Hurricane Irene and many other natural disasters hit our country this year, causing widespread damage that's going to require a massive rebuilding effort. The American people are looking to us, to federal government, to lend a helping hand. And I point out again the picture of what a disaster like this can do, where water is virtually up to the second floor. And this was repeated across the state of New Jersey and many other states as a result of Hurricane Irene. And with that, Mr. President, I urge my colleagues to support this amendment. Though there are squabbles about funding for various programs, at no time is the help more urgently needed than now, again, right after these storms have hit, left terrible devastation, and people urging and pleading with us, give us the help, and I urge my colleagues to support the amendment. With that, I yield the floor, and I note the absence of a quorum.
Call the roll.
Mr. Akaka.
Majority Leader.
Mr. President, we've worked long and hard.
We're in a quorum call.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't know the senator from New Jersey had called for a quorum. I ask consent that it be vitiated.
Without objection.
Mr. President, we've worked very hard this whole week trying to move forward on legislation dealing with our appropriation bills. It's been difficult. One reason it's been difficult is it's kind of a new area we're working in, and that is legislating. I was very impressed to see Senator Mikulski talk with great clarity about how nice it was for her to again be legislating, but we're not there yet. We were hoping to have a number of votes today and tonight, but we haven't been able to do that. But we're getting close. Our staffs are working very hard to come up with an agreement that we hope we can do tonight to set up a series of 4 to 6 votes in the morning and then hopefully a pathway to complete this legislation. We have other issues that we have that always we have to do more than one thing at a time. So we're going to move forward, the Republican leader and me, on filing a couple of cloture petitions that we're going to set up for votes either Friday or hopefully we can get them done tomorrow. And we're going to be happy.
Echo the remarks of my friend. We do have a number of amendments pending. We're working our way in the direction of getting back to a normal process here, and I share the Majority Leader's hope and his view that we will have a number of votes hopefully tomorrow as a result of an agreement we're working on.
Mr. President, I move to proceed to calendar number 204, S-1723.
Clerk report.
Motion to proceed to calendar number 204 as 1723, a bill to provide for teacher and first responder stabilization.
I have a cloture motion at the desk.
Clerk report the cloture motion.
Cloture motion, we the undersigned senators, in accordance with the provisions of Rule 22 of the Standing Rules of the Senate, hereby move to bring to a close the debate on the motion to proceed to calendar number 204 as 1723, the Teachers and First Responders Back to Work Act, signed by 18 senators as follows.
Mr. President, I would ask unanimously that the names not be necessary to be read.
Without objection.
That it not be necessary the names be read. I'm sorry.
Without
about that.
objection.
Mr. President.
I ask consent that the mandatory quorum under Rule 22 be waived.
Without objection.
I withdraw my motion to proceed to calendar number 204.
Motion is withdrawn.
Mr. President,
Later.
I now move to proceed to calendar number 205, S-1726, and I send a cloture motion to the desk.
Clerk report.
Cloture motion, we the undersigned senators, in accordance with the provisions of Rule 22 of the Standing Rules of the Senate, do hereby move to bring to a close debate on the motion to proceed to S-1726, the Withholding Tax Relief Act of 2011, signed by 16 senators as follows.
I ask consent that the reading of the names be dispensed with.
Without objection.
And I now withdraw the motion and proceed.
Motion is withdrawn.
Mr. President, the one
Majority Leader.
we've tried, as I indicated earlier, most all the day to have some votes. We were unable to do that. We're not going to have any more votes tonight. I've spoken with the Republican leader. We've done the best we can for today. There'll be more business here on the floor this evening. Hopefully we'll be able to set up some votes tomorrow. So I apologize to everyone for not being able to have some votes or to have some way of moving forward, but we've done, as I indicate, the best we can. I guess the good news is some people will be able to watch the World Series. I would note the absence of quorum.
Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Akaka.
President,
Senator from New York,
I ask that the quorum call be dispensed with.
without objection.
Thank you. As you know, Mr. President, Hurricane Irene and Tropical Storm Lee left a trail of devastation all across New York. I saw firsthand the impact that they left on our communities. Complete homes ruined, entire streets 7 feet of water, all people's belongings on their front yard. Small businesses basically uncertain as to whether they could rebuild, whether they could rehire employees, crumbling bridges, washed out roads, heating oil soaking into buildings and into the ground, farms with no feed for livestock, crops, and livelihoods vanishing in a single day. This farm in Middleburg is just a snapshot of what our farmers are facing. Debris covers the land, most crops washed away, whatever was left contaminated. The Van Allers who own this farm told me that the worst sound they had ever heard was their cows suffering as the water rose. This year has been unprecedented disasters striking agricultural regions all across the United States, not just in New York. In order to help these rural agricultural communities rebuild in my state and across the country, I'm offering an amendment, number 838, to fund the backlog of state applications for the Emergency Conservation Program and the Emergency Watershed Program. I would like to call up this amendment now. This funding will help more than half the states in this nation with the disasters that they've experienced so far this year, from the flooding in the Midwest to the droughts in Texas to the devastation that happened all across New York State. This is emergency funding that will help our farmers and our businesses survive, and I urge that my colleagues support this amendment to reduce the backlog of eligible projects that are needed desperately right now by these families and these farms to rebuild. Mr. President. We'd like to bring up amendment number 869.
Clerk report.
Senator from New York, Mrs. Gillibrand, for herself and Mr. Schumer, proposes an amendment numbered 869. On page 83, between lines 9 and 10, insert the following. Section A, notwithstanding any other provision of this Act, 1, the amount provided under Section 732 for the Emergency Conservation Program for expenses resulting from a major disaster designation pursuant to the Robert...
I'd like to ask consent that you dispense with the reading.
Without objection.
Mr. President, I'd also like to add Senators Leahy, Casey, and Sanders as co-sponsors to this amendment, along with Senator Schumer and I.
Without objection.
Mr. President, I yield the floor, and I suggest the absence of a quorum.
Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Akaka.
Senator from Alabama,
I would ask that the quorum call be dispensed with.
without objection.
Mr. President, there's no unanimous or no consent to bring up amendment number 812 that I have offered. It's a very important amendment. It's something I will insist on through every appropriate power an individual senator has to get an amendment to be voted on, and hopefully it will be come on up tomorrow or the next day. Let me summarize it briefly, and then I will offer my full statement for the record. Amendment 812 would prohibit the Patent and Trademark Office from using funds to implement Section 37 of the Americans Invent Act, more commonly known as the Medco fix. When the patent bill moved through the Senate and the House, efforts for, and that took a decade, efforts were made to reverse a decision by the Patent and Trademark Office that had declared a major Boston law firm had failed to file a document in time to preserve a patent for their client Medco, and as a result of that, Medco was to lose its patent sooner than otherwise would be the case. They would be able to, generic manufacturers would be able to manufacture the drug, and it was asserted that it would cost $214 million as a result of this error. Well, if a doctor makes an error, they get sued for malpractice. If lawyers make errors, they get sued for malpractice. They have malpractice insurance. And apparently they had some insurance. But at any rate, it appears millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars were set aside for lobbying and other efforts to politically reverse the patent office during a time while the matter was litigated in court. And when the patent bill came up a few months ago, it was contended that this is the only vehicle to fix this problem and we needed to fix it. And the House voted not to put it in their bill. Then somehow a new vote was obtained, and by the narrowest of margin, the House put it in. And it came to the Senate. And I had been objecting for a decade, and I objected, and others objected, and we had a vote, and by the margin of 51 to 47, it was decided not to amend the patent bill that the House had passed, and to pass it just like the House did, although many people told me that they agreed with me that this Medco fix, intervening in an ongoing litigation, should not occur, but changing the patent bill would send it back to the House and cause and endanger the passage of the bill. So I was disappointed at that. But what we've discovered is that the litigation continues. It is now before the U.S. Court of Appeals. The Court of Appeals is taking arguments on a number of issues that relate to this, and it's a very real problem. It's a matter that ought to be decided by the courts, not politicians. And if some special relief act is to be utilized, and sometimes those can be, they can't be utilized while a party still has litigation ongoing. Only after the litigation is exhausted can someone appeal for a special relief act. In essence, that's what Medco is asking for. So I don't think it's right. I practiced law for a long time. I know how the system works. I know this fine law firm in Boston. Every day, first thing they look at when somebody sues one of their clients is, did the person file a lawsuit too late? If they did, they'll dismiss it. Every judge that sees a motion to dismiss for lack of timely filing objectively looks at it, and if it's 1 day, 1 hour, 1 minute late, you're out. That's the rule of law in America. And it doesn't make any difference if you're a little widow lady or if you are the head of some company or if you are a big drug company or a big law firm. That's justice in America. So I don't think this is a good thing for us to do. And so now that we have this legislation before us, it's germane and appropriate because it has patent language in it for us to fix this decision we sort of got forced into making and to have a vote on it as part of this bill. What we know is that the language of the Patent Act we passed, the American Invents Act, would not take effect for 1 year from the date of enactment. So during that time, the litigation continues. Congress ought not to intervene. Congress ought to let the courts decide. And then if the only remedy in Congress would be to file for a special relief act, and Congress could consider it or not, based on the circumstances of the case. So, Mr. President, I thank the Chair for allowing me to share these remarks. I do believe it's a very important issue. I truly believe that Congress is unwise, very, very, very unwise to begin to step into ongoing litigation involving highly competent parties with large amounts of money and start taking sides in that litigation. I believe it would be wrong. So, Mr. President, I thank the Chair for the opportunity to share these remarks, would offer my full statement for the record.
Without objection.
And note the absence of a quorum.
Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Akaka. Mr. Alexander.
Thank you.